you guys doing out there? My name is Kyle, and today we're going to be talking about the film Kong Skull Island, which is directed by Jordan Vogt-Roberts and stars Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson. In this film, a government agent slash explorer, played by the one and only John Goodman, receives satellite footage from an uncharted island, which leads him, a team of scientists, soldiers in Vietnam, an ex-soldier, and a photographer to this island to see what's down there, and of course they encounter, you guessed it, Kong. In terms of anticipation, I was very excited to see this movie. I'm a fan of King Kong. I love the 2005 version, which I own, directed by Peter Jackson. That's one of my favorites. It's a very special film for me. I loved it as a kid. And I remember seeing that first trailer last July and just being completely blown away by it. And I was thinking to myself, this could either be a very, very good film, or it could just fall flat. To me, Kong Skull Island felt like the perfect kind of movie to go with a group of friends. And that's exactly what I did last night. I went with a group of 8 of my closest friends. And I was just hoping that we were going to get a really fun movie with great action sequences, good characters, and a really fast-paced story. Unfortunately, guys, while the movie was entertaining at times, I came out of it very disappointed. I thought this movie was okay. It wasn't horrible, but it was far from being great. I will say this, though, because there has been a lot of controversy with the way the movie has been criticized. If you're going into this film expecting it to be a huge CGI action fest, you're going to see Kong punch all of these animals. The human characters you're not going to really care about, but you're going to care about Kong. If you go into this movie with that mindset, you're going to love it. However, if you're going to go see this movie because you want to see a little bit more, you want to see good developed characters, you want to see a really intriguing story, you will be disappointed because it really doesn't offer much more than just Kong beating up things and making it look cool. Now, I will definitely sit here and say that the action sequences present in this film are amazing. Every single action scene from Kong is going to be the most memorable things about this film. Kong himself is huge. He's like 5 to 10 times bigger than I think he's ever been. And when he's taking out the helicopters, it looks great. At times, this movie gives you a very 70s feel. And while it's a good thing, I also can see the negatives to it. I'm going to explain that later. I also like the fact that they shot on practical locations. Not everything in the movie was all CGI. I've seen the behind-the-scenes footage of the movie, and a lot of the things that happen actually did happen, so I really respect them for doing that. Now let's talk about the characters, which in my mind are definitely one of the weakest elements in this film. I personally feel that this movie could have benefited from good characters to overcome a very weak, cliched story, but unfortunately our characters present, for the most part, are very weak and cliche, save for a few of them. So let's talk about the characters I liked. Now you gotta love Sam Jackson. He is great, he's one of the best actors, we know all that. But I do think that his character in this movie was somewhat interesting, and he had somewhat of a character arc, though I can't really go in depth because of spoilers. Despite the fact that the arc he has is kind of predictable, you can understand where he's coming from, you understand his motivations. The second actor I want to mention is John Goodman, one of my favorite actors of all time, and until a certain point, he was great. I loved the opening with his character, I felt that there was a lot of depth with him. There's a point where he said something, and I lost all sense of likability for him, and he just became a very cliched character like all the rest of them are. In my mind, the character who I liked the most was John C. Reilly. He was great! I absolutely loved his character. It's great that John C. Reilly brought comedic value to a movie that desperately needed it because it was so bland. Not only is he funny, but he also has the best character development out of every single person combined. We learn about his past at the beginning of the film, we learn why he's stranded on the island. There's some really good character depth and development for him that I wish was present with all the other characters. He definitely became the true heart and soul of this movie throughout the second half. Other than that, guys, I was not a fan of any of the other characters. Let's talk about Tom Hiddleston, for instance. His introduction scene I thought was fine, him being given money to go on this expedition. We do learn that he has his own particular set of skills, and his biggest one is that he's a tracker. He's someone who can find people, and I think that being on a lost island, that's a good skill set to have. Unfortunately, he only uses it twice throughout the whole film. This made the character feel so underused. I was very, very upset with this. I do like the fact that Tom Hiddleston did have a couple of interesting action sequences. He's a good sharpshooter. But other than that, I just wasn't impressed by his character at all. I love Brie Larson. She's one of the best actresses working today, no doubt. I remember seeing her for the first time in 21 Jump Street. I also love her performances in Scott Pilgrim's Short Term 12, The Spectacular Now, and of course her Oscar win in Room, which I think she perfectly deserved. All her character does is take photos. Doesn't matter what kind of situation she's in. In fact, she faces several near-death situations. In all honesty, guys, I didn't feel this disappointed. I felt ashamed that this is how the writers wanted to craft this character. Brie Larson is a very talented actress, as I just stated. And it's extremely unfortunate that this is what her character is reduced to. Save for one little thing she does at the ending of the film, which I don't want to spoil. There's also some very questionable editing and direction, specifically throughout the first half of the movie. And I don't know if this has been said by other YouTubers, but I think that the way the movie is directed at times felt very cheesy. I mean, let me say this, guys. This movie felt a lot cheesier than I ever would have anticipated it feeling. There is a shot, maybe about 30 minutes into the film, once they finally reach the island. They're dropping these seismic devices which craft mini explosions. And there's a pilot of one of the helicopters smiling maniacally with the explosions reflected off his aviator sunglasses. Oh my god. Guys, I laughed so hard I could not contain myself. It was that unintentionally bad that it was hilarious. Like I said at the beginning of this review, I like the way that it was shot in the way that it felt like a 1970s film, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to hold up and not feel dated and extremely cheesy and campy. And I don't know if that's how the filmmakers wanted us to feel, or if it was that unintentionally bad that it was hilarious. The dialogue throughout is very stilted and wooden. It's a lot of cliche dialogue that you've heard from 100 other films, including Jurassic Park. So overall, guys, I thought Kong Skull Island was just okay. But I will state that every action sequence involving Kong is very impressive. It's directed extremely well. And if you're going to the movie with that mentality, that you want to see a CGI action fest of Kong punching things and just ripping up people's jaws, you're going to get that. But if you want to go into this movie expecting anything else, you're going to be very disappointed because the characters are very weak, the writing is bland, sometimes the direction of the movie is very cheesy, it's a very campy B-style movie that just felt very unimpressive. And I think the worst thing that I could ever imagine thinking during a film besides, this is horrible, is I could actually see a way better movie as I'm watching it. Not afterward, but as I'm sitting in the theater watching the film. But of course they didn't, because they figured that all we really cared about was Kong destroying things and nothing else. And I understand there's going to be people in the comment section saying, well, that is what we're expecting. But then that becomes way too predictable. I think we're past that. It's unacceptable to have movies like this with just characters fighting other characters. That's boring. It's predictable. I should not have to say things like, there should be better characters. Because there should be. And just like I said a minute ago, guys, there could have been a way better film. So in the end, guys, I'm going to give Kong Skull Island a C+. So guys, what did you think about Kong Skull Island if you've seen it? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Are you somewhere in the middle? I'd love to hear all your comments, so send them in the comment section below. If you want to see a great film with great characters and a great story followed with great action, go watch Logan. Or go rewatch Logan if you've already seen it, because I'm pretty sure most of you have. I'm also going to be seeing the film Get Out over the weekend. I'm very excited about that because I've heard nothing but great things about it except from Armond White, because that guy's an idiot. Anyway, guys, be sure to click that thumbs up button. Thank you so much as always for watching, and stay tuned.